Okay, so welcome to the next session, and in this session we are going to discuss about the various perspectives of human resource development and the model that we are going to use to design, develop, deliver and evaluate a training program. Now, in this model we will start with HRD perspectives. So, in this we will talk about different kind of perspectives which have given their input and try to explain HRD activities, and then we will move to the next thing, that is HRD models. Now, if you look at the learner's perspective means the person who is going to learn. So, we have to keep in mind that the context and the situation of the learner is very important for the learning process. Irrespective of the kind of design and program that you have, if you have not considered or kept in mind the learner about his attitude, his behavior, belief, his motivation and the context in which he is going to learn, a learning program may not be very effective. So, it is very important to understand the learner's perspective first. So, we are going to move to learner's perspective. Two things are very important here, because individual is going to participate as the learner, and once they learn certain things in a program, then they are going to contribute to the organization towards its growth, development, productivity or whatever it is. So, here the learners are basically adults, they are not children. So, you cannot allow or use or apply the same principles which you use in learning in schools. In case of adult learning, you have to follow the adult learning principles, and the two important aspects of adult learning principles is the behavior and the context or the situation in which he is going to learn. Now, if you look at Malcolm Knowles, who basically talked about adult learning, what we call as andragogy, and he has identified certain things, certain principles in the context of adult learning. Okay. And this context, the perspective here is individual situation differences and the goal or the purpose of the learning. Individuals, when you are talking about the individuals, two individuals are not same, they are different, they are having different mindsets, different kind of attitudes, different kind of beliefs, different kind of motives. Similarly, if you look at the context or the situation in which they are working are different. So, we have to keep that in mind. And the second point is the goals or the objectives. What is the purpose of learning? In what way they are going to make use of learning? In what way they are going to apply this learning? So, it is very important that you keep individual in mind when it comes to design and develop a training program. Okay. And the learner, since he is going to contribute, it is very important to see that the context of the situation in which he is working and how he is going to use that learning. So, the context or the situation and the goals or objectives is very important. Okay. Now, if what we are going to discuss further is basically the adult learning principles that can be applied in the perspective of human resource development. Now, if you look at this, at the first place you will find the goals and purpose of learning. Now, when we are talking about the goals and purpose of learning, yes, any HRD program must redefine or redesign its goals and objectives, that what is the purpose of this learning program, what is the purpose of this HRD program, in what way it is going to help the individuals to learn certain specific skills, and similarly in what way it is going to help to achieve the goals and objectives of the organization. Then once that is defined, you also look at the individual in terms of his traits, characteristics and the situation in which he is going to work. Once these two things are defined, we have, as we have talked about it, the next thing that we are going to discuss is the principles of adult learning, that is known as andragogy. And when we are going to talk about andragogy, there are certain principles that is to be kept into mind, and that is what actually differentiates one individual from the other individual. Say for example, if there are 5-6 students sitting in the class, all of them are not going to be equal recipient of whatever is being delivered in the class. So, the same kind of principles are applied here also. So, you have to see that these differences come from certain factors. It could be because of his experience, because of his understandings, because of his orientation, because of his attitude. So, what we need to understand here is that why he wants to learn certain things, what he is going to learn in a particular program, and how. So, the objective, goals and goals and also the process through which he is going to learn should be made clear to the learner. Then the second point is his self concept, and when we are going to talk about self concept, you have to understand that any kind of learning experience for the individual, if it is not coming from within, if it is not self directed, probably it is not going to help him. If you force somebody to learn, probably he will not be in a position. So, you have to provide some kind of freedom, autonomy to the individual, so that he comes forward and is ready or willing to learn, and he is motivated, and if he is not motivated, probably it will not be possible. Then you have to see that what kind of experience that learner has. So, if you are going to design a program and if he is not able to understand that, then what will happen? Similarly, you also need to look at what are the resources that you are going to use. So, when you are going to use certain resources, say for example, when I am giving a lecture, I might give certain examples, I might use certain audio visual aids, I might use certain animations. So, different kind of resources are required to supplement the learning, so that it is better for the individuals to learn it. Then when we are talking about previous experiences, that another important point is that what kind of mindset the individual has. You know that there could be individual differences when you are talking about mindsets. For example, if you are going to design a program for senior people, then you have to design in a different way compared to a program that is to be designed to young people. For example, the mindset of senior people will be different, their attitude towards learning would be different compared to the younger people. They may not be much willing to learn. So, if you are giving them a lecture, it may not be effective. Similarly, you have to also keep in mind another important thing is that whether learners are really interested to learn certain things or not. So, you cannot teach a person who is not willing to learn, irrespective of the fact that when if you have forced him to go and attend certain classes, probably he will not be, mentally he may not be available there, physically he may be there. So, it is very important to see the reluctance part. If he is unwilling, then you should not offer any such program for him. If he is willing to learn, then definitely it is going to help him. Then another important thing is that what is the orientation towards learning. When I am talking about orientation, basically that this orientation to learn is related to what? Whether it is going to help him to solve certain problems related to his job, his performance. Okay. And if this learning orientation is not there, it means that the learning has to be linked with his job, his performance. If this kind of orientation is missing, probably the person is not going to learn much. Okay. And finally, and the most important thing is motivation. If you look at motivation part, in the red circle you can see it, it talks about what? The motivation. Motivation to learn means that whether the person is really directed himself to learn, or he is driven to learn certain things because he does not have the knowledge and skill that is required by the organization, or his performance is not up to the mark. So, whatever is the reason, you have to see that the person is really interested to learn, okay, and that comes from within. Okay. It is not the department is nominating you, that is one thing, but if you are really interested to learn something, you can come forward. Okay. So, if it has to be something what you call intrinsic motivation. So, if a person is intrinsically motivation, then it is always better. So, these 5 principles of andragogy or adult learning principles must be kept in mind when you are going to design any kind of program which is going to help a person to learn in a different way or better way. Then it could be related with his learning and his growth and development. In the periphery factor, you can find out certain things like it could be related to his growth, his community and institution and other kind of things, but that is secondary. These learning principles are having certain context which could be related to the situation, the society, what you call the institution, and these provide you a context and the differences in the ability of a person to learn. So, under this context, if you are going to design a training program or a learning program, and if you follow these principles of adult learning, probably it is going to be more successful. Now, from this principles of adult learning, we are moving to another perspective, that is organizational perspective. So, there are two things, one that yes, I am interested to learn. So, my characteristics should be kept in mind. Now, another important issue is organizational perspective, and when I am going to talk about organizational perspective, it is that why an organization should design a training program or a learning program for you. What is at stake for the organization? So, organization is going to see that you should have those abilities and competencies which is required by them, not by you. So, they want to see that you have those critical competencies which is required by the organization to perform the job. Now, they have certain presumptions before they proceed these kind of things. They understand that yes, you are willing to learn, you have the capacity to learn and perform, and if you do not have these kind of things, probably organization may not benefit out of it. Okay. So, the most important thing is the assumptions that organizations have about the people is that whether they have the capacity to learn and perform or not. If they believe in this kind of philosophy, then it is good, because in that case the individual will be motivated and able to perform after the training program. One thing that I want to say here is that it is the responsibility of the organization to think about it seriously, so far as their philosophy about human behavior is concerned, because everybody has certain capacities, all individuals have some capacities. The idea here is to explore those capacities and make use of those capabilities or capacities, and also enhance and develop them through HRD interventions to ensure that people are going to perform well. Now, so another second important thing is that apart from being guided by this philosophy that yes, everybody has the capacity and they can learn and perform, the second thing that they are supposed to facilitate this process of learning. So, they should offer the program. Okay. Apart from that, they also should keep in certain factors that is related to the organization, means the kind of HRD systems you have, what kind of structure you have, what kind of processes you follow to design and develop training program. So, that is basically related to what you call the HRD department. So, HRD department is supposed to design and develop a training program to facilitate the learning, and they must get support from the organization. Similarly, you should have a culture and climate in the organization where everybody talks about creativity, innovation, so that people are willing and come forward to learn. Now, third point, that is very, very important, because organizations are not charities. Okay. They are institutions which are supposed to make profit and deliver results. So, they are basically concerned with the bottom line, that is performance. Okay. So, the most important criteria for an organization to support a training program is that they want to see that once you go through these training programs and you come back, you are able to perform well. Okay. At the individual level, at the group or the process level, and also at the organization level, right. So, if you are not able to perform well, so whatever money that is being invested by the organization for any kind of HRD activity is going to be a waste. So, these are the important organizational perspectives which basically is from the organizational side to ensure that they have a philosophy that yes, people have the capacity, they are ready to learn. We will provide them all kind of support system, structure and facilitate the learning process, provided they are able to perform and contribute to the organization at all level, at the individual level, at the group level, at the work process level, and also at the organization level. Now, if you look at this, the performance level, you can find it in the red circle, the organizational level, process level and individual levels. And the performance needs it that you have to see that yes, at the individual level, you will find that yes, there are certain goals related to the job, okay, which they are supposed to do. So, they should be able to perform well, because if they are not going to perform well, then what will happen? The performance criteria will not be met by the individual. Okay. So, even after the training, if you are not able to meet the performance criteria, it means the training is not effective or successful, right. but this is going to be also impacted by certain other factors, that is design, how the job is being designed. Now, where we have to see that is where the organization has an important role to play. So, when you are going to design a job, you keep certain things in mind, that while the individual is going to perform the job should be designed in such a way, so that people who are going to do it find it interesting, meaningful, challenging, they have freedom, okay, they get feedback. Okay. So, if this is how the job is designed and these things are kept in mind, probably it would be more motivating and interesting for the individuals to perform well. And the last point is, so far the management is concerned, they must provide all kind of support system, resources, guidance to the individual to perform well, right. Moving to the next level, that is the process level, the same thing is happens. So, each process has certain goals and objectives to achieve, right. For example, you have a recruitment process. So, in recruitment process what happens? You have a recruitment system which is going to see that your recruitment goals and objectives are met. Suppose you want to see that, okay, this is the timeline within which you want to recruit certain people. Okay. So, you have a recruitment process starting from advertising to say going through the selection process, conducting tests, interviews, all kind of things. So, these are the different processes in of the recruitment, and each of these processes has certain goals and objectives to be achieved, and whether at the group level or the process level, say, you are able to achieve these goals within a given timeline or not. Now, the thing is that if these processes are designed properly and effectively, probably you will be able to do this. So, you have to see that how your recruitment process is designed. Let me give another example. Suppose you have a training program. So, the entire process related to an HRD program has to be defined very clearly. Okay. So, how have you designed the training program in terms of structure, support, who is the trainer, how it will be evaluated. So, these are the process part of design part which is to be kept in mind, and then commitment and support of the top management in terms of resources and other things are required. Now, moving to the highest level, that is the organization level, that is where you keep in mind that how you are going to achieve the goals and objectives of the organization in terms of profit, productivity, brand image, reputation, whatever it is. Okay. And then how the structure and the culture of the organization is designed, so that it is going to facilitate these goals. Okay. And then whether the management, the top management is really interested to see to it or not. So, if you look at the management design and goals, all of them are interlinked with each other at different levels. So, that is individual level, goal group level, or process level, even at the organization level. What I want to say here is that, yes, if you look at the organizational perspective, they are definitely concerned with the performance at different levels, but at the same time it is the role of the management to support and enable learning, so that they are able to perform their goals. Similarly, and you have to look at the structure, systems and processes, so that designed well to facilitate this process, and then only organizational perspective can be met. Moving to another important area. So, since we have talked about both the perspectives, so the learner perspective and also the organizational perspective. Now, we will look into the models of the human resource development, okay, are the processes that is adopted in human resource management, human resource development. Now, if you look at different stages, there are mainly 4 stages that could be find out in the HRD process, and these 4 stages include, the first stage basically is the need identification assessment. It means that first of all you have to identify who are the people, okay, who needs training. Okay. So, they identifying the training and assessing what in which area they require training. Then moving to the next is, depending upon the requirement, you have to design and develop programs. Okay. And third, then you are going to deliver these programs using certain techniques and tools, and finally, you are going to evaluate training program. Okay. Now, these are 4 different processes which is followed by say 1, 2, 3, 4. So, these are the 4 important processes which is very, very important. So, for any HRD process is concerned. So, In general, we are going to use these processes further. So, now if you look at it, you can see that these are 4 distinct processes, but they are all linked with each other, each of them follow the other one. Now, if you look at the first process, that is the assessment process, so you are going to assess the needs, and then depending upon resources and constraints, you are going to prioritize it, right. Second is that you are going to design and develop programs accordingly. Then third, you are going to implement or deliver the HRD program, and finally, you are going to evaluate based on certain criteria. So, these are the 4 processes which are very important. Now, let me take an example. Suppose you are working in an organization and your job is to identify that training needs or the HRD needs of the people in different departments. So, you can start with one department, or you can take a exercise which could be for the entire department. Now, when you have taken this exercise for assessment of the training needs, and you have identified a set of people who needs training in different areas. Say for example, when we are going to take up this kind of thing, we have identified that training needs are what you call the HRD needs of the people. Now, when we are going to talk about this kind of training need, what we are going to see here is that okay, these are the different kind of training needs of the people. Say could be related to say leadership, there could be areas related to technical training in various departments, there could be related to communication. Okay. So, and the list goes on. Now, once these training needs are identified, there is a process through which you are going to identify it. We will discuss these processes later on, but once these training needs are identified, the first stage, then you are going to prioritize them, which one is more important, which one is less important. So, you know that technical training is going to directly contribute to performance. So, this would be the first one, then you know the leadership is then third, and then there could be other program and so on. Now, what I want to say here is that once you have identified okay, these are the 3 training programs which are very important in terms of the priorities, you are going to design and develop training program for that. What I mean to say design and develop is that keeping in mind your target audience and their requirement. Okay. So, you have identified a set of people who needs training in these 3 areas. Okay. Now, once you have identified this set of people, and then you are going to move ahead that okay, depending upon the requirement, and you have also identified the requirement in terms of what kind of training that they are going to provide. Okay. So, once requirement is, you are going to see that once people have been identified, the requirement has been identified, then you are moving to this next stage of what you call design and develop a training program. So, this design and development of a training program must be kept in mind the target audience, the set of the people, and what is the requirement. So, it should match. We will discuss it in detail. Now, once program is designed, then you are going for delivery of the training program. It means that we have to identify people maybe from within or from outside, okay, and then you have to create a support system to deliver the program, and once the program is delivered to the target audience depending upon their requirement, then you are moving for them, and then you are going to evaluate in terms of whether the program has been able to meet its objective or not. So, once this evaluation is done, then you are going to see whether it is going to be successful or not, and based on the feedback of evaluation, you can make certain changes and identify whether it would be good or not. So, this is the basic model which we will take up further and discuss later on in detail, that how we go about assessment, design, implementation and evaluation. Okay. So, basically if you look at the first stage, what we do? We establish the priorities, okay, in which area we are going to offer program by identifying the training needs of the learners. Okay. Once that is done, then we specify training objectives. Okay. That okay, each program will have its objective. For example, if you are going for leadership program, so what is the objective of leadership program? Who will be the target audience? the participants from the industry who is going to attend, what specific objectives you want to meet through this training program, that is to be identified, and finally, you are going to establish evaluation criteria. Now, the thing is that most cases we do not talk about evaluation in the beginning. It is very, very important that we talk about the evaluation criteria in the beginning, because if you have identified the criteria against which you are going to evaluate, it would help your problem, if it will solve your problem later on, because later on you do not need to worry about okay, how we are going to evaluate, because you have already prefixed all the criteria against which the performance is going to be evaluated. Okay. So, these are the 4 major things that is to be done at the first stage. Then at the second phase, as I told you, that you are going to design and develop appropriate training program, and this is appropriate in the sense that it must meet the requirements of the participants or the trainees who are going to learn certain things out of a training program. So, if it is a technical program, suppose you want to offer on machine learning. So, if you are going to offer a program on machine learning, it is a technical program. So, you need to identify those who need learning, right, this kind of learning, because those who are going to work say in the area of artificial intelligence, and if you are an R&D organization, so you must identify people, a set of people who are willing to learn, looking at the learner's perspective. So, you look at the attitude, interest, motivation and their requirement, whether there is a performance gap or it is a new area where they want to learn. Once you have identified the target audience and identified their needs, so you are going to design a program on say machine learning, which is a technical learning. Now, in this machine learning program must meet the goals and objectives of the learners in terms of their knowledge and skill and behavior. So, they should be able to understand what is machine learning, where it is going to be applied, and all kind of things related to the program. Then you also decide okay, who is going to deliver the programs. It means you also need to identify the experts in the area. Then you are going to design and develop the content, what is going to be included in the machine learning, okay, what would be in different modules of the machine learning program, right. Then once the content is decided, you are going to schedule. Since any program cannot go on indefinitely, so you have to go for a structured program. Okay. As I told you in the beginning that any HRD program is going to be very systematic and structured in nature. So, suppose you are going to offer a 5-day program, 20 hours or 25 hours program. So, you make sure that the content is being covered, and once the content is decided, only then you go for scheduling the program. So, that you are in a position to understand okay, this content can be covered in these many hours, and accordingly you identify the experts, you have the content, you have the schedule now. Then the next thing is that organization is going to provide the resources to implement that training program or the HRD program, and implementation means that you are going to see that how you are going to deliver the program. The different kind of methodologies could be there, whether you are going for lecture, whether you are going for some kind of experimentation, observations or field work. I mean, there could be a number of methods, okay. Whether it is going to be a visual learning or it is going to be a more simulated environment. So, you have to decide about different kind of methods. We will talk at later stage when we discuss about the delivery part in detail. But here what I want to say is that you need to identify the appropriate learning methodology for delivering a program, so that it is going to be successful. Then once that method is decided, you have the experts, the next thing is that you are going to deliver the program within the given time frame, keeping in mind the objectives of the program, how it is going to help learners to learn certain things, and in what way they are going to use or apply it, both. So, you are going to deliver the learning program, and finally, what happens that you are going to see whether the program is effective or not. Okay. You can get their feedback, you can see whether they are able to apply knowledge and skill base or not. These are the basic criteria against which you can see, and then you also see whether when they go back on the job, whether the performance is improved or not. If the performance has not improved, it means the program is not effective. Okay. So, there could be a number of criteria against which it could be done or evaluated, and based on that you also take certain decisions, whether you are going to keep follow this kind of program again for next set of participants, or you are going to make certain changes, and that is based upon the feedback. Then whether you should offer it again or depending upon the response from the learners or also the requirement of the organization. Okay. Then based on the feedback, you also see what actually in terms of cost benefit analysis, that how much you have spent on a training program and how much benefit you are going to derive, both financially and non-financially. Not necessarily that all programs will have financial impacts, but there could be non-financial impacts also. So, you have to see that in terms of cost benefit analysis, you are going to collect or say estimate the costs that you are going to incur on a training program and also the benefits that is being derived from this training program. And then you think that whether you need to make some certain changes or not, changes in the sense that whether you would like to offer as it is or based upon the feedback of the participants and the experts, you would like to make certain changes in the way that the program is going to be offered. Okay. And that is how the HRD process model is complete. So, conclude this part, I have certain statements to make that HRD is too important to be left to amateurs. What does it mean? It means that HRD program should always be offered by professionals who are trained in the field, who know about the things, who can design and deliver and develop a training program, so that in ultimate run you can say that okay, these are the benefits that have been derived out of this program. And if it is left to those who are not professionals, who are amateurs, probably will not be able to derive the benefit. Second is, it should be a revenue producer, not a revenue generator. See, most of the organizations have this kind of implicit assumptions that yes, they need to be given training, so they are going to incur certain costs, but not necessarily that this training is going to help them to improve their performance at the bottom line. Now, the mindset of the organization has changed, since you remember we talked about the organizational perspective. So, when they are going to provide you training, the basic objective is that you improve your performance. If you are not able to improve your performance, there is no point going for any kind of training. Okay. And if your performance improves, the organization will make more profit, it is going to be more productive and effective. So, the idea is that you become a revenue producer, not a revenue spender or user. And finally, you should be able to integrate your activities with the organization. Ensure that any kind of HRD intervention is planned keeping in mind the goals and objectives of the organization. Okay. And the last point that I would like to say is that yes, we should be able to talk money in terms of money basically. It means that any HRD intervention that is going to be designed, okay, must keep these things in mind, both the perspectives, the learner's perspective, the organizational perspectives, to ensure that people are able to improve their knowledge and skill base, and it is going to help the organization to improve their performance. Okay. Because human resources are actually the central tenets of any organization, and if you are not going to take care of them, you are not going to invest on them, probably you cannot survive and sustain in the long run. Thank you.